Hello, my JUKI friends. My name is Alba, and you're here with me at my home in New Jersey. I am the National Accounts Trainer for JUKI Home Sewing Machines, and today I'm going to share with you a project that I have loved making. Today we will be making our wine glass apron. This is a wine glass identifier and coaster all in one piece, and it is so easy to make. You'll enjoy making these not only for your party guests over the holidays, but as gifts as well. Let me move over to my table so that we can go over all of the items needed. What I love about this project is that it is a great way to use up leftover fabrics from other projects that you've done, or to utilize your pre-cut 5-inch squares, because that is what is needed to make this project. So in total, we will need 6 5-inch squares and 1 piece of batting cut to 4.5 by 4.5. So you want that batting to be just a little bit smaller than your fabric to make that easier for when we are sewing and when we are quilting that. Now, I am going to share with you a couple of different variations for these wine glass coasters. Now, this one here I love because it shows off fabric that I have fussy cut so that you can see that different print. How nice would this be to have one for all of the holidays of the season? And it's so easy to do that. And I'll explain how to get those fussy fabrics, those fussy cuts to show up. Plus, as a bonus, I'm going to show you how to lay this out so that you could have your fabrics on the diagonal. What a cute, fun way to do this project. Now, on our base, we're going to be creating a quilt sandwich, and we can quilt the bottom, or you can leave it just plain. Now, there's a few things that you can do with the quilting. This is an example. This is an embroidery design that could have been done on the bottom to be done as my coaster portion. This is a leftover piece that I've had from my long arm. So I'm utilizing all of my practice pieces that I've had. One of my favorite ways to quilt is with just simple wavy lines, and I'm going to be showing that to you today. And on this piece, I've used a triple stitch, a standard straight stitch, and even that stretch stitch that looks like a zigzag. So look at how differently the different stitches could make that quilting look. Now, I said that we needed 6 squares of fabric, and we are going to set 2 aside with the batting, and that will be for our bottom part or the coaster part. Right now, I'm going to concentrate on the other 4 pieces. Now, with those 4 pieces, you are going to fold them in half and press. Now, I've already have these done, but I just want to give them a quick press. And also, if you want to do the coaster on the diagonal, the difference is that you would press on the diagonal so that you would have 4 triangles. I'm going to show you first with the square pieces, the rectangles, and I'm going to show you how to get that fussy cut. So I'm concentrating on that yellow flower that I want to be visible. as I'm placing this piece down, my folded edge is towards the center. And we want to do that for each piece that we lay down. Now I want to leave my flower that I want as my accent. I want to be aware of it. And my next piece that I'm placing goes on top of the previous. I'm lining up those edges. And I'm just making room so that you could see all the way around. Now my next piece, because this one went over my previous, this one is going to do the same thing. So we're always getting an interlocked look. And I want to make sure that my yellow fussy flower is showing. And I'm lining up all of my edges. By laying down the pieces first, it ensures that that will show and that this is my right side of my fabric. When we do sew these together, we're going to place our quilted square right sides to right sides, and that will ensure that all those fussy fabrics that you cut and spent time to show those designs will show up appropriately. Now, why do I stress doing that? I've done a few where it didn't work out. And I'm going to show you the layout also for the diagonal or the bonus layout. Now, this is the same way as we've done this one. My only difference is that I'm paying attention to the raw edge corners. And I am going to overlap my fabrics, matching up all of my edges. Always matching up my corners. Making sure that my center has all of the folds. Perfect. So now we're going to get to our quilt sandwich. I'm going to lay that on the side. With the quilt sandwiches, we want to do this with that first piece being wrong side up. And I'm going to place my batting, leaving an even amount of spacing all around. And that next piece right on top. Now with quilt sandwiches, I find that if I just press, it helps that batting stick to my fabric. But if I'm going to be doing any intricate quilting, you may want to spray your batting on both sides so that your fabric really adheres and sticks together well. Now you could leave this just the way it is with no stitching, or you can do free motion, ruler work, any type of quilting that you like. I've shown you one of my favorites, and that's the wavy line. So we're going to go over to the machine and I'm going to show you how I do that. Now, today I am working with the DX4000, but this could be done with virtually any JUKI machine because we're really only using our straight stitches. Now, because I am quilting, I'm going to activate my Smart Feed, which is an integrated built-in walking system. So I am just lowering that Smart Feed device into my foot, and let me do that one more time. So here I am at the back of my machine, and I'm just lowering that into my foot. And I am using a straight stitch with a stitch length of 3.0. And with my wavy lines, I have one line done previously, and I am going to do the next line. And what I am doing is I'm mirror imaging my sewing line. I'm going at a mid speed and my feed dogs are up. That's why I happen to really like this. It's a very easy quilting to do. And I am just moving that fabric, and I'm going to cut my thread, and I'm just doing wavy line after wavy line. And as I said, I'm mirroring my previous line. And I'm doing this with blue thread so that you can see, but I'm going to show you on the... So we've pinned our intersected folded pieces with our quilted background. And now I'm going to show you that it's exactly the same way with those pieces we did on the diagonal. I would do exactly the same thing. I would lay my pieces on, and the only part with this is you need to be a little bit more careful pinning. So I have one corner pinned, and I'm going to flip that over. And same thing, I like to do my intersected fabric pieces and just making sure that everything is nice and even. So you could see with whatever layout you are doing, it's a very simple process, and these come together quite quickly. Perfect. Now, what we will be doing with either one is going to our sewing machine, and we are going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around. Because our folded edges are in the center, I don't even need to leave an opening to turn this inside out. So let's go over to the machine. Now again, I am using the DX4000, but this could be done on virtually any JUKI machine. So what I have attached on my machine is my 1/4 inch foot. So double check with your machine instructions if you do need to choose a specific stitch to do a 1/4 inch piecing. But I know with this, I like to change my stitch length, and I'm doing that right at the machine. I like to make my stitch length 1.8. This is going to be turned inside out, and we're going to be a little aggressive with poking out the corners. So I like a nice, tight, small stitch length to sew this together. Now I am using contrasting thread, a very dark blue thread, so that you can see my stitching line, but you would want to use a thread that matches your fabrics. And I'm going to adjust my speed to a medium speed, and I am going to start sewing. And I am going to just remove my pins as they come along. And I sew all the way through. I don't try to miter that corner. I like that intersection of thread because it gives you a stronger corner. So now at my corner, I'm just going to back tack a little bit and go in reverse, just to give that added strength. And again, removing my pins as I go. And again, at each time when I come to the next corner, I do a little bit of back tacking, just for added strength. And you want to do this to all 4 sides. And you want to go slowly because you are going through quite a few layers of fabric and batting. And this is my last one. So again, I'm back tacking. I'm going to remove that pin because it's in my way. You never want to sew over pins. Now, before I do turn this inside out, I want to make sure on my opposite side, and I missed a little bit right over here. So I like to check both sides. Looks like my square was a little shy of 5 inches. I may have gone just not as careful with my cutting. So I'm looking and making sure that all of my fabric has been caught. And also what I'm going to do is trim those corners. Now when you trim the corner, make sure that you're not cutting into your thread, creating a hole. And of course you would want to trim up all of your fabrics, all of your threads. And now comes the fun part, turning inside out. And this is why I wanted you to back tack at those corners, because we're going to be poking at these corners. And we're going to turn that inside out. And I'm going to show you that blue flower that I wanted. I'm sorry, the yellow flower that I wanted. And I'm just going to play with my corners a little bit. I normally have chopsticks that I use when I turn my corners, but they aren't handy right now. So here's where we did that fussy flower that I wanted to point out. And this is the way I did this particular one with the bird and the flower. Now on this one, rather than turning inside out, I did binding all around. And here I would have stitched my edges together. And rather than turning inside out, I would have made sure, one, that all my fabrics were facing up. And I would just do binding all around. Now, if you do have a serger, what a great way to just make sure that the inside is nice and clean by using that serger. Now, I like the way top stitching looks just to finish that off. I don't know if you could see that nice and close. What I've done here is a triple stitch, and I'm going to show you how I set that up on my machine, because I'm going to give this coaster a nice top stitch. But before I do that, I'm going to just press. That way it makes it a little bit easier when I go to my machine. I always press as I go along. So now that my edges, I'm going to pretend my corners are beautifully poked out, we're going to do some top stitching. And I am going to go back to my standard foot. So I've attached that on. And I will select my stitch. And I'm coming over to my screen. And sometimes screens are a little bit difficult to see, but I'm selecting my stitch, and on my machine, it's number 4. It looks like a triple dashed line on the screen. And when I select that, I like to make my stitch length as long as it will go. And I've set it to 5. And I will show you on a little bit of a lighter fabric so that you see that triple stitch, what it does. So as it's sewing, it's going back and forth, giving the appearance of a thicker thread. And when you go to that longer stitch length, See the difference between a regular straight stitch and that triple stitch, how much more prominent. And that's perfect for when you are top stitching. So now I'm going to place my wine glass apron, and I'm actually going to adjust my needle position, and I'm moving my needle position all the way over to the right so that I could guide the edge of my coaster to that inside opening of the foot to give me a nice, straight, even line. And I'm going to turn my corner, and I am going to go all the way around top stitching. And I'm going to show you what that looks like, both stitched and not. So here we have that beautiful stitching, and here we have it unstitched. And either is absolutely fine. So just as a recap, that bottom quilting, this could be free motion, ruler work, it could be just straight lines, or it could be left plain without anything. That little bit of batting in between those pieces of fabric acts as a beautiful coaster, absorbing any condensation. And your lovely fabrics that you choose can identify all of your glasses, whether it's yours or a guest. So I hope you've enjoyed making this project with me. I look forward to our next time that we get together and do another fun project. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.